Hey guys, YouTube 100 here. All right, and now here I am with another Scream review. And now, next up, here I am with a review for last year's Scream movie. Yeah. Yeah. The official title of this film really is just Scream. Yeah. So I'm not really sure why they decided to just like call this film Scream again, like the original film, rather than just calling it Scream 5. I'm not really sure like why they decided to just like have it be simply Scream again, like how the 2018 Halloween movie was simply just titled Halloween, like the original film was. Yeah, so I'm not really sure like what is up with that, with like these like new sequels coming out that are just like have just like this simple like title of like just what the original film was titled, rather than like giving it like a different title. Why didn't they just like call this film Scream 5? So I'm not really too sure why they just called this film Scream. Like I don't know if like maybe it has something to do with like something that's like talked about in this film, with like how it's like not really like a sequel and not really a reboot in a sense. Yeah, it's something that's talked about in this film, which I will get into in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if it really has something to do with that or what. But yeah, either way, yeah, this film's official title is really just Scream again, like the original film. It's just simply titled Scream and not Scream 5. Yeah. So like I said, this film was just released last year. Yeah. And like I was saying before, like I was actually like thinking of actually making a video giving my thoughts on this movie when I did go see it last year. But yeah, like I was saying before, like it was when like my dad had COVID, so like my attention had to be put elsewhere, and I wasn't really able to make a video giving my thoughts on this film when I saw it last year. But at least I do actually get to make this review talking about it now. Yeah. So like I said, I did actually see this movie last year when it was released. And I really did like the film. I did think that it was a pretty good film. Yeah, once again, like this film isn't as good as the first two films, but yeah, I did think that this was definitely better than Scream 3 and 4. Like I did say like how I did overall like Scream 4, but yeah, it did like have like some big problems to it. Yeah. But here, yeah, this is definitely even better than Scream 4. Yeah, this film really is like pretty good. Probably like there is like something about the film that really does not make a lot of sense. But yeah, it is really just like it's not really like a huge deal about it. Yeah, what this film does do, I do think that it does it pretty well. And yeah, and there are like some interesting twists in this movie. Yeah, and yeah, like I said, I do overall like what it does. Yeah. So if you did see my review for Scream 4, I was saying how like something that I do feel is kind of like a problem with the series, especially like with like as the films progress, like with like films 3 and 4, how like with a Sydney like constantly like being able to like defeat like all these people that have been like going after her and trying to kill her. Like it was like a total of 7 people, and the fact that she was able to really just like be able to defeat and kill all of them, I feel that it's really like becoming really hard to buy that like she was really able to do all that with like absolutely all of the killers that were going after her. Yeah, and I did really, and I have said like how it really is kind of like really making it's not really believable, and I feel that like that is really like one of the reasons why probably like they could have like maybe should have ended the series after the second movie. And when I heard like they were making this movie, like I was like wondering like, oh, what's gonna happen now? Like, are they really just gonna do this again? But as I did hear like more about this film, like I did like learn how like this film like was really gonna be like really like set around like a new like a cast of characters, and not really like focus on Sydney. Like this was really just going to be like Sydney and the original characters. They're returning, but they were like they would be more in supporting roles and not really like main characters in this film. And Yeah, and that really was what it was. And yeah, and I did like that they actually did go down that route. While like I said, Sydney still is in the movie, and so are Dewey and Gale. But yeah, they're not really like the main characters of the film. Like the film doesn't really like entirely focus on them. This film really does focus on like a new cast of characters, a new like a younger cast, and yeah, and the film really is like really set more on them, and the killer in this film is really like going after them, and there's like one character in the film that really is like really like the main character of the film, and we do learn how she's like kind of like has a connection to like a certain character from the original film. Yeah, yeah, and we can like do learn all about her, and yeah, and the killer is really like trying to go after her and her friends and everything. Yeah, and that's like she's really like trying to like find out more about this killer. Like the original characters do kind of like get like roped into things as well, and they really are just like trying to defeat this killer. Yeah. Yeah, and overall, yeah, I did like that they decided to go down that route because, yeah, with like really like it really not being believable that Sydney has really been able to defeat all these people. Now that seeing that like it's now focusing on like a different younger character doing this stuff. Yeah, I do like that they're going down that route for it too. Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, this film like does have like a new cast of characters. Like you do still have like a Nev Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox returning as a Sydney, Dewey, and Gale. But like I said, they're more in like supporting roles. They're not really like the film doesn't really focus on them. Yeah. Yeah, and this film it has like a new cast of like it has Melissa Barrera, uh Jenna Ortega, Jack Quaid, Mikey Madison, Dylan Minette, and yeah, and some others, and yeah, and this new cast, I do think they are pretty good. Like especially like Melissa Barrera, she is like the main character of the film. Sam Carpenter, yeah, and she does a pretty good job in this film. Like, yeah, her character is like really done very well, and yeah, and like I said, she does really kind of like have a story that really does sort of like tie in with a certain character, which I'm sure you do know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I'll like get more into that in a little bit. Yeah, and everybody else is pretty good. Jenna Ortega does a pretty good job in the film, and yeah, and in this film also do have like some other characters from like prior films returning as well, such as um yeah, such as um Deputy Hicks from the previous film, but now it's shown that like she's actually Woodsboro Sheriff. Yeah, and also oh Randy's sister Martha also is back in the film, and yeah, and she is also still played by Heather Matarazzo, who also played her in Scream 3. Yeah, so yeah, it showed that she made an appearance in the film. Yeah, and yeah, and yeah, and yeah, like I said, the film does really tell like a pretty interesting story, and I do like what is done with it. But yeah, 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 and also like this film, like of course, like it was not directed by Wes Craven. Yeah, as I'm sure like a lot of you know, sadly, Wes Craven ended up passing away in 2015. So, yeah, yeah. So this film was under the direction of Matt Bettinelli Alpin and Tyler Gillette. Yeah, but yeah, they did fill the director's chair pretty well. Yeah, they did do a pretty good job with this film. Yeah. And also, the film, like, it wasn't written by Kevin Williamson. This film was written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick. And yeah, and they really did write a pretty good screenplay. Like, yeah, it really was done, like, very well. Yeah. So the crew for this film, like, yeah, they really did, like, make a pretty good film here. Yeah. And also, like, like, with this film, of course, like the murders in the film. I remember like in my Scream 4 review, I said like how in that film the murders were like really like more brutal and gruesome in that film than they were in like the original three. Yeah, but this time like they're it's even taken up even more because yeah the murders in this one, gosh, I mean they are just like really brutal. Like some of the stuff in here is just really like oh man, like you like yeah this stuff really is like pretty graphic like there's like stuff that happened in the film like there's a stab like that goes like through the hand like the throat gets slit yeah you see like at one point like with one murder like the knife really like goes into the neck and you actually do like it like comes out from another side so yeah and it really does have like some very brutal deaths like that and just brutal like stabbing and everything like that in the movie as well. So yeah, this film like the murders in this one are definitely the most violent that they've been in the series so far. So yeah, so if you really are into like really like a violent and sort of like a gore and stuff in horror films like you'll definitely get that with this film so yeah so this really does have that to offer if you're like a fan of like violence in horror films so yeah so just yeah I just really don't know what to else I can say just yeah it is like a really good film it really does have it all like the performances are good I do like how it really does focus on like a new cast of younger characters and yeah I mean yeah and plus yeah very violent murders and just yeah it really just really does have like what a film like this really should have so yeah so I just really don't know what I can really say but yeah it definitely is a really good film and it is definitely better than the two previous ones so yeah not like the not as good as the first two as I said but yeah still definitely a really good film and it is definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it and if you are a fan of the Scream films so yeah, so I guess I would probably give this film probably 3.25 stars out of 4. Yeah. I'll go down that. I'll give it 3.25 stars out of 4. Yeah, so yeah, it definitely is like a really good film and a nice way to kind of like really yeah, like show that this is like in a new generation and how much has really like been like updated and stuff. So yeah, definitely really good film. All right, so yeah, so I guess I'll just start talking about the film. All right, so yeah, so the film opens up showing how like there's this like a high school student Tara Carpenter. It shows she's alone, but yeah, she's like getting the phone call from, of course, like the Ghostface killer. Yeah, and it is kind of like similar to like the opening of the original film, how the killer really is just like really toying with her and just asking her a bunch of questions. Yeah, but then eventually, like the killer then like gets into the house and then like is chasing after Tara and then eventually then attacks her. Like the killer stabs her repeatedly, and yeah, and at one point like the killer even like actually like stomps on her leg, breaking it. Yeah, then yeah, and then just like stabs her like repeatedly with the knife. And at one point the knife like actually went through her hand. So yeah, yeah, and then yeah, then like you saw like the killer deliver like one more stab before it like I showed the title. Yeah, but yeah, then it's like revealed that she Tara actually survived the attack. So yeah, so this is the first time that like the the victim at the beginning of the film has actually survived the attack in the opening. Yeah, so I found that kind of like odd. Like, why did they do that? Like, why did they have her like survive rather than her just being killed like all the other ones in the openings of the previous films? So yeah, so I'm not really sure why they did that. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. Then it shows how Tara's like a strange older sister. Sam was like in a Modesto, and she was informed by like one of Tara's friends, Wes Hicks, who's the daughter of a sheriff Hicks. Like I said, she's the now the sheriff in the film. Yeah. Sam was informed about the attack, so then Sam then like went to Woodsboro with her boyfriend Richie to visit Tara in the hospital. Yeah, and yeah, then it showed how like Sam also met like some of Tara's other friends, which consisted of course Wes, along with Amber or Freeman, who's like uh, Tara's best friend, along with the and twins who were actually Randy's niece and nephew, Chad and Mindy. Yeah, and also Liv McKenzie. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so they were all like together, and yeah, and then they were giving Tara and Sam some time alone, and then yes, Sam was just saying how she was going to be at Tara's bedside while she's in the hospital. Yeah, and yeah, then it just showed like how at one point like at some point during the night how like the friends were like in like a nightclub or something. Yeah, then as uh Liv's ex-boyfriend Vince Schneider was like outside the club, and it like was like showing how Vince was actually Stu's nephew, like had an encounter with the killer and ended up killing Vince. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, then at the hospital, like Sam then like was it was showing how like Sam was like having some visions of Billy. Yeah, it like showed how like whenever she would like look, well, when she looked in the mirror, she would see Billy in the mirror, and yeah, and it showed how like Billy was still wearing the same stuff that he was wearing the night that Sidney killed him in the original film, and he even still like had like the fake blood on his chest. Yeah, or I guess I should say the corn syrup on his chest. Yeah, yeah, and they did actually bring back Skeet Ulrich to play Billy. Yeah, so it's kind of cool they did that. Yeah, and apparently like it's like explained in this film how like Sam is actually like Billy is her biological father. Then like she was like explaining to Tara like how this came to be because of like apparently like their mother like while they like she was like married to their father. Apparently, like she like had like an affair with Billy or something, and like that's how uh Sam was conceived or something. You like I don't know. It is like a little confusing as to like how the parentage of like Billy with having Sam really does work since Billy was like was like a Sydney's boyfriend in the original film. So yeah, so the whole thing with Sam being Billy's daughter is like kind of confusing. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it is interesting how they did that, and they just show how like Sam is like having constant visions of Billy. Yeah, yeah, and apparently like this resulted in their parents' separation, and this is the reason why Sam has been estranged from Tara for years. Yeah. But yeah. Then yeah, wanting to get some more answers about the Ghostface killer after Sam like had was had an encounter with the killer in the hospital. Then Sam and Richie then paid a visit to Dewey. Yeah. Yeah. And they were wanting to get some advice from Dewey about like the killer and like how to really stop the killer. Yeah, and it's shown like how in this film how like Dewey is now retired from the sheriff's office, and him and Gail are now divorced. Yeah, yeah, and then they were asking like help for from Dewey in stopping the killer, but yeah. Dewey like initially he refused just because like of how what he's already been through with like how many times he's been stabbed and the permanent nerve damage he has and everything. Like initially he like refused, yeah, but then like after Billy well not Billy Dewey then contacted Sydney and Gail about it. How did he warned them about Ghostface? Yeah, and once again, like I was saying, like in my review for Scream 4, saying how like Nev Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox really did like age really well in the time between the third and fourth film. Yeah, once again, they have aged really well here too. Like, yeah, I mean they're like yeah, Nev Campbell, like she still looks like really good in the film. Like yeah, she really hasn't really aged that much, and she still does look like really good in this film. Yeah, and the same thing with Courtney Cox. Like I don't know, like what are they like in their 50s now? Yeah, and they still do look like yeah, they have aged like really really well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah, getting back to this, yeah. Yeah, then do we after like a warning Sydney and Gail about the ghost phase returning, then do we then decided to help Mindy and Chad? Yeah, and then they all head up at Mindy and Chad's home where Chiltel and Dewey was reuniting with Martha. Yeah, then like as they were talking about like the attacks and how on what the killer is really like trying to do to like kind of like send the message, like what they were talking about before in the other films. And Mindy then deduced that the killer is following the rules of what's known as a requel, which is a continuation of the narrative that derives heavily from the plot of the original. So yeah, so I think this that may be like in tie with like this film's title, why it's simply called Scream and not Scream 5. Yeah, yeah. Then they were saying how like the killer really has just been ki- killing the people that are like have been like in some sort of relation to Billy and Stu. Yeah. Then they were like just using saying that Tara and her friends are being used as like a new generation, and they use Sam's connection to Billy as a way to weave the legacy characters. Yeah, yeah, and then then it shows like how then the killer then ended up murdering Sheriff Hicks and Wes. Yeah, and once again, just yeah, the murders were like really pretty violent. Like the killer just like at first the killer just killed Sheriff Hicks, constantly stabbing her in the gut. Yeah, and you just just see like the blood like constantly like coming out of her, and she blood coming from her mouth. Yeah, then then the killer then murdered Wes, and yeah, and this is like what I was talking about with the knife like going into the throat and then coming out another way, like just very graphic murder there. Yeah, then like when like then it showed how like Gail then arrived in Woodsboro to cover the story and she reunited with Dewey. Yeah, but then and Sam then realized that the killer would be then coming after Tara. So then Sam and Dewey then rushed to the hospital to help Tara, and it showed them how Tara, knowing that the Ghostface killer was going to be coming after her, she then got in a wheelchair and then tried to make a break for it, but then it showed them how Richie was then at the hospital like trying to meet Sam there. But then then Richie got attacked by the killer, and then as the killer then was trying to chase Tara down, then eventually then Dewey and Sam then arrived, and then were able to fight off the killer and save Tara and Richie. But then as Dewey then subdued the killer, as they were ready to all escape, Dewey then remembered that they have to destroy the killer by destroying by going for the head because they always come back. So then as Sam, Tara, and Richie were able to get away, Dewey then tried to go back and go for the kill on the ghost face, but then the killer then just ended up recovering, then ended up stabbing Dewey, and yeah, but unlike the attacks in the first two films on Dewey, this time Dewey was not so lucky, and Dewey really was killed this time. Yeah, I remember when I did see the movie last year. I was really thinking how Billy was gonna live again, but no, this time he actually did die. Yeah, so that was a big shock that Dewey was killed. Yeah, Then yeah, then with a like a then it showed how like Gale was really just like a crushed of Dewey's death, and then yeah, then Sidney then arrived in Woodsboro after hearing about Dewey's death, and then yeah, was there for and Sidney and Gale were then consoling each other, and then eventually then Sidney was able to meet Sam as Sam, Richie, and Tara were all then like preparing to just leave Woodsboro. Like Sidney was then like trying to talk to Sam, trying to tell her to like stand and fight to stop the killer, but Sam like did not want to do that and was decided to just leave. Yeah, yeah. Then as they were like Sam, Richie, and Tara were all like like preparing to leave. Then uh, Tara then like saw how she didn't have her inhaler, so she had to like actually go to she had to go to Amber's house to retrieve her inhaler, and then yeah, then it was shown how like Amber actually did live in Stu's old home from the first film. Yeah, and yeah, then in the film like well yeah, then it showed like at Amber's house how they were like having a party in honor of Wes. Yeah, yeah. Then yeah, then like it was like it showed how like Chad and Mindy were there and some other people were there as well. Yeah, then it showed how like Chad ended up being attacked outside by the killer. Yeah. Then yeah, then eventually then like yeah, as a uh Sam, Richie, and Tara then arrived, like everyone was then just told that the party was over and everybody just ended up leaving. Yeah. Yeah, then eventually then as a Mindy was like just on the couch, she ended up being attacked by the killer as well. Yeah, but yeah, before the killer could actually kill Mindy, Sam then arrived and was able to fight the killer off before Mindy could be killed. Then like Amber and Tara then appeared, and then Richie then appeared. Then yeah, then like they were really like trying to like say like one of them, like one person in the room had to be the killer. Yeah, then yeah, then eventually then Amber then and pulled out a gun and then shot Liv in the head, and then that was revealed that Sam was the killer. But yeah, then as everybody was then like trying to run, Sidney and Gale then ended up arriving, and then yeah, then Gale ended up being shot by Amber, but yeah, she sent Sidney in to finish the job for Dewey. Then as Sidney like was going around like trying to find the killer. Then eventually, like when the killer then like tried to attack Sidney, like then like Sam then held the killer at gunpoint, but then Richie then ended up stabbing Sam and was revealed to be Amber's accomplice. So yeah, so the killers in this movie were Amber and Richie. Yeah, then yeah, then Yeah. Then as they all then like went back into the kitchen where like of course Sydney like had the original face off with Billy and Stu. Then like Richie and Amber then were like explaining how they liked the Stab series and they had met online, but they were disappointed in the trajectory taken with the most recent Stab movie, and they decided to go on a new killing spree and bring back the quote unquote original cast, Sydney, Dewey, and Gale. Yeah, and provide a new and improved source material for a future requel. So yeah, so I don't know, just their motive just really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like with the other films, like there was at least like one of the killers that did at least like have like a motive for like trying to kill Sydney. Like they had like some sort of like connection with Sydney in some way or another. But here there's really like no connection with them. So yeah, so I don't know. The motive of the killers in this film is honestly pretty weak and really doesn't make sense. So yeah, so I guess you can really kind of consider this a drawback to the movie. Probably one of the reasons why it's not as good as the first two films. Yeah. Then like the plan was to try to frame Sam as the killer, and they were really going to kill Sydney, Gail, Sam, and Tara. Yeah, but then eventually, yeah, but then Tara then ended up attacking Amber, but then eventually she was incapacitated. Yeah, then as a Richie then was fighting with Sam. Sydney and Gail then were fighting Amber together, and then eventually, you know, they got Sam towards a turned on stove, and then Gail then eventually shot Amber, causing her to land on the stove, and she caught fire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then as a Richie then was fighting with a Sam. Then eventually, Sam then saw another hallucination of Billy, and Billy was just uh directing Amber's attention to one of the knives. Then Sam then eventually grabbed the knife and finally embraced her heritage rather than trying to not be associated with Billy. She finally embraced the heritage, and then she just stabbed Richie repeatedly, and and you just saw the blood going everywhere, and even some blood, you could see blood droplets all over Sam's face. Yeah, then she just and eventually ended up slitting uh Richie's throat. Yeah, yeah, then yeah, then yeah, then to finally finish him off, Sam then grabbed the gun and shot uh Richie, killing him. Yeah. But then of course one of the killer always has to come back, right? Yeah. Then Amber burned then tried to charge at Sydney, Gail, and Sam, but then then Joel then Tara then appeared and shot her to death. Yeah. Yeah. Then with the emergency crew then all on the scene, then it showed how uh Chad and Mindy, along with Tara, then were loaded into ambulances to be taken to the hospital. Yeah, yeah, and before, and then with Sam with Tara, before they left, Sam then just approached Sydney and Gail and thanking them for their help, and just told Sydney that she was right about what she was trying to tell her earlier. Yeah, and Gail also just said how she was not going to be writing a new book about this new murder spree. If so the killers have notoriety, but instead, she decided that she was going to write a tribute to Dewey. Yeah, and then Sam just then asked Sydney if she would be okay due to what Sydney has been through. Yeah, and Sydney told her that she would be eh, okay at a point. Yeah, then Sam then went into the ambulance with Tara, and yeah, then it just showed how the events were covered by the news. And that's how the film ended. But yeah, the first thing it showed in the credits was for Wes. So yeah, so this was in honor of Wes Craven. So I guess that's why like um the Sheriff Hicks's son was named Wes in this film. It was in honor of Wes Craven. Yeah. So yeah, so that's how the film ended. Yeah. So like I said, it is a really good film. I do like what it does, and I do like how it really doesn't really focus on the original characters, but a new cast of younger characters in the film. And I like I said, it is an interesting story. The story with Sam really being an offspring of Billy, I thought was interesting, even if it was kind of confusing. Yeah, and like I said, the killer's motivations really are pretty weak and doesn't don't really make a lot of sense and stuff. So that is probably like a problem with the film. Yeah, but Dewey's death really was like a big shock in the film. Yeah. And so yeah, so it really seemed that like what this film really was going to do was it seemed like this was really going to be kind of like a it was going to be like a last like it was going to be a farewell for the original characters and like the series in going forward would now be focused on like the new characters such as Sam and Tara. Yeah, and like with this new film that's now out, Scream Six, it does look like that is what it is going for with like having Sam and Tara back. Yeah, and in this new film, like Sydney is not in it, but Gail still is. So yeah, so it does seem like that is really kind of the approach. But yeah, what I just really don't want to happen is I don't really want like this series to really like be continuing on like making like a whole nother film series or like a new generation of films now with the new cast. I think like now like after Scream Six, I don't know like what is actually like what Scream Six actually does do because I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, whatever it does do, I really just hope that I think that that should be the last one, and whatever the film does do, yeah, that should really just conclude the film once and for all. But yeah, regardless, yeah, this is still like a really good film, and yeah, definitely like better than 3 and 4. But yeah, not as good as the first two films. And I really do think a large part of that may be because of just the weak motivation of the killers. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, like some really graphic deaths in this film, and yeah, so if you are like fans of like more violent deaths in horror films, then yeah, you'll get that with this film. So yeah, so this film still does have a lot to offer, but yeah, there is just like you have to keep in mind some stuff about it that really is just like kind of confusing and stuff that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, it is still like a really good film, told a good story, and yeah, and I really did like it overall. And I do think that this really did good at really like being like a last hurrah for the original characters, mostly with Dewey being killed, and yeah, and this now being like the final appearance of Sydney with Nev Campbell not returning in Scream 6. Yeah, so like I said, I give the film 3.25 stars out of 4. So definitely a pretty good film. All right. So yeah, so I guess that's all I can really say about it. All right. So this is my review of Scream 5 or Scream 2022 if that's how you want to label it. Yeah. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say about this film. Yeah, and yeah. And up next, now I will be talking about Scream 6. Like, I am planning on going to see it. Hopefully, it'll be sometime this week. So, yeah. So, when I do go see it, I will make a video giving my thoughts on Scream 6. So, stay tuned for that coming up next. All right. But, yeah. But I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.